Well, good morning, community. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Avila. Got a really exciting show for you today. I've got Edward and his daughter, Lisa Cassenti, in the show today. And we're going to not only delve into Edward's stroke and what caused I want you to understand here, if you're out there, you fly in aircrafts and travel, you need to listen to the show. And it's Dr. Lisa. So let's get right into it. I can't wait. I'm excited to see it. So let me get right into it.
The Stroke of Genius podcast, hosted by brain aneurysm and stroke survivor Aaron Avila, sharing the experiences of survivors and CEOs. This is your destination for inspiration.
Well, good morning. Let me introduce you to our guest. And reading is for me, being the way I am with the P's episode. I'll try to read the best I can, but we'll do the best. So it goes. So my guest, our stroke survivor guest, Edward Cassenti. Edward Cassenti is a husband and a father, and has been a workout enthusiast all his life. He's always worked out, maintained a healthy lifestyle throughout his entire life. He broke the world record bench press at the age of 16 years old. At the age of 71, after strokes, he continues to work a full-time business involving an IT company. Amazing. He has had two strokes from the age of 36. Second stroke at the age of 64. He has second stroke damage 90% of cerebellum, the part of the brain responsible for balance and coordination. And let me tell you, what you see me with right now is also a cerebral stroke. And you're going to be pretty amazed to meet him and see how he's come out. But let me also his daughter, Lisa Cassenti. She has a 4-year-old daughter. She herself is a breast cancer survivor, so she's badass too. And then she's a special educator, best-selling author, co-founder of Breast Connection. And Lisa and her mom were the primary caregivers during Ed's recovery. So I'm going to bring him on right now. So let me play this little bumper. Let me bring him on.
Fire.
Good morning, Ed. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Aaron. Well, thank you for the introduction. Good. And I have to say, I love the comment that I just saw that says, stroke does not define a person. It's how you react.
That's true.
And I'll kind of get right into it. Something
Let's go for it, Ed.
That is very, very, very important. I've been very healthy all my life. Kind of said that. Stroke has no bounds to who it affects. You can be as healthy as a horse. My situation for work, I did a lot of traveling on commercial airlines. A ton. Very, very, very short flights. 40 minutes in a year. But I did hundreds of them. And my big, bad mistake is becoming complacent getting on that airplane. When I would get on an airplane, I would figure I got a little bit of time. I got a lot to do. I think I'll sleep. Well, I'd sleep from the time that plane was on the runway, and the stewardess would have to wake me up and say, "We're here." Do not ever do that when you get on an airplane. I don't care if it's a half an hour. what we've learned is a flight for as little as a half an hour, if you stay completely still in a seated position, the air pressure changes as you go up 20,000 feet. It's because of the air pressure change. It's not because you're staying still. You can sit in your reclining chair, watch TV for hours, not the same effect. You go up in an airplane and you stay stationary for a half an hour, you will develop what they call DVTs, deep vein thrombosis. Deep vein thrombosis, what we kind of think is a blood clot. And the blood clots that form because of flights are very, very, very minuscule most of the time. Most of the time. 1 out of 2 million air travelers, that DVT will not be minuscule and it will not go away. Normally, you get up, you walk around after a flight, 20 minutes, half an hour, it's all gone. You never even know that it happened. But those 1 in 2 million, that's me, that blood clot stays. And it stayed for a few days. And a piece broke off. And when that piece broke off, instantly, within, it seems like nanoseconds, probably, the blood clot normally would travel up the vein, that major vein in your leg, because it forms behind your knee because your knee is flexed. As it moves up, it's in a vein, it should go to your lung, and it should cause what they call a pulmonary embolism. And a pulmonary embolism, sorry.
God, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's right. I did it again. The pulmonary embolism, in most cases, causes death. In my case, I have a birth defect and I have a hole in my heart. And when that blood clot moved up the vein into my heart, instead of going to my lung, it went into an auricle and it went up to my brain. And lucky for me, it wasn't a pulmonary embolism. Saying lucky, I had a stroke. And the stroke was severe. As Aaron said, 90% of my cerebellum was destroyed. And what I have to say about not having balance, if anyone kind of remembers when you were younger and you went to a party and you had a great time and you had way too much to drink. Well, the way too much to drink and you have kind of an accident and, everything's coming out and the world is spinning a mile a minute, and you look up to God or you just look up to the higher power and you say, God, get me through this. I will never, ever drink another drop of booze again. Just get me through this. That feeling, because of that stroke, lasted with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it went on for over 3 years. During those 3 years, I was told by neurologists, this will never go away. This is your new self. And your new self has to figure out the challenge that you're in and how you're going to get through it. And I literally did physical therapy 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the initial part of that therapy was, I was like this. I tried to move my head and I would throw up all over myself. I couldn't stand up. I needed help. And after months, many months, I was able to propel myself with a cane, holding onto my wife's arm. And that should have been the rest of my life. I did say, this challenge, I'm going to learn how to get through it. And I'm going to learn to do as many things as I can. And the things that I could do were literally brought down to sitting with my eyes closed, playing my guitar. So I would just not have to see everything moving. And little by little, and I want to emphasize that it's little by little, because the depression that can be caused because of a stroke, you want to get back to your normal. Maybe I was lucky that I decided after a few doctors that I have to accept this. And I have to accept feeling miserable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I got to learn how to eat and not throw up. And it was unbearable. And you got to decide, I'm not going to let unbearable control my life. And with that therapy, I would measure things very, very, very slightly. I would try to move my head. And I try to move it 3 times before I throw up. And I'd say, tomorrow, I'm going to try and move it 4 times. I wouldn't get 4 times. But I'd say, well, maybe the next day. And I find, 2, 3 days later, wow, I did it 4 times. It's those little successes. When it went from 3 to 4, that was like breaking a bench press record. You got to embrace if you're kind of thinking, well, that's not me, you might think that those successes are very minuscule. They're not a big deal. They are a big deal, because when you're trying to recover from a stroke, it's those little successes that keep you going, keep your mindset going, that says, okay, I got a little bit more success. Maybe my new normal is never going to be what it was, but I'm going to get to the best new normal. And my life is meeting those challenges and beating those challenges. And the challenges are little by little. And when you, at least when I found, I would make this I would succeed. I'd make the challenge. That feeling of accomplishment is what drove my life to be positive for 3.5 years. Now, I know that I look very normal, not a lot to talk about. All of the therapy that I did, it helped me so that I could be somewhat normal. I could go out with my wife. I could go grocery shopping with her, hold on to the cart for dear life, not look at anything on the shelves, or try to do it little by little. And I'd have a bucket with me to throw up in. And when I got out of that car, no matter what, I thought, I'm doing pretty good. When I would get out of the car, everybody in the parking lot would stop, because they saw, hey, there's something radically wrong. And they would make sure that I would get safely across the parking lot and into the store. So, and I have to tell you, another thing that I found in trying to bear with stroke, accept help. Most people, almost every person will want to help someone in need. And it makes them feel good. And you need the help. Don't say, I'm macho, I can do it, I'm going to do it alone. Don't. You need help to get through this. And when you embrace that decision that I will, of course, I got help from my daughter and my wife immensely. But when you get help from a stranger, that feeling also tips the scale that says life is good. And you have to understand that when you have to accept a new normal. Now, I did accept a new normal, and lucky for me, my wife, my daughter is into biotech, and she knows a lot of stuff. And I don't know, between what I did with the biotech and just that attitude, here I am, move my head back to work. drove all the way up to Albany for a Christmas party. Saw all my consultants. Hadn't seen them in years. Do you know consultants showed up, hadn't worked for our company for a couple of years. They said, "Hey, Ed Cassenti, the guy with the stroke, he's coming. I got to see him." I saw grown men cry. And I have to tell you that as bad as that experience was for those 3 years and change, I have to tell you that the reward I got from getting through that is a major, major point in my life that says life is good, life is positive. You do what you can, accept the things that you can't get by, and learn how to accept them. And that's my thoughts on stroke.
Well, really, I can't thank you enough, Ed. That's really amazing. I mean, so many of those points I know will resonate throughout the stroke community, because I think one thing that you said really resonates with me is that little steps, little goals, little, don't go think you're going to wake up and not be a stroke survivor and go back to normal. Not happening. But you set little goals yourself and you contain them. Good for you. And the main thing I noticed is a decision. You made the decision not to let stroke beat you. I know it sounds strange, but after almost 12 years, I'm just kind of realizing I'm kind of there. I need to make that conscious decision physically to not tolerate it, to push past it. But let's take a minute, pause. Now, Ed, just so you know, wanted me, Ed is not Lisa's brother. But Lisa is
Thanks.
Ed's daughter. So Lisa, introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Sure. I want to tag on to what my dad said about his recovery. So everyone, I'm Lisa Cassenti. I'm a single mama of a 4-year-old daughter, Leanna, that if I could just say, my dad is able to pick up my little girl and twirl her around, keep up with her. He's going to be going on roller coasters with her. He can dance with my mom. He can do things that we never thought possible. And that we have been given the absolute greatest gift. And I know that my dad is the strongest, most courageous person I know in my life. And if anyone can get through anything, it's my dad. But what he went through, it's so hard to even put in words everything that he went through and what it was like to see my father struggle all of that time. And now to have this gift where my dad can share his story of recovery with other stroke survivors. And one of the things that I want to say about my dad's recovery that is really important, and Dad, you didn't mention this, but I know how instrumental it was. My dad is part of a stroke support group, and it's this community that we were introduced to very shortly after my dad had the stroke. And he has been with this group and these people and the nurses that run it. He has been with them ever since he had the stroke. And my mom and dad went faithfully. And now it's something that they do virtual. But the power of community, the healing of community, how much you learn from each other. You can celebrate your milestones, you can grieve your losses, all of that taking place in a community, that is critical. What my dad said, don't be macho and thinking, I don't need the help, I don't need to go to a support group. Well, guess what? A support group is so much more than you think of it. And if you've never gone to one, please go to one. I'm one of the 4 co-founders of a group. It's an educational and supportive group, but we're a community. And this is exactly what Aaron has created, a powerful healing community where you're going to meet people in different journeys of the stroke. I know Bryce put some comments in there. He had a pulmonary embolism. He said DVTs wiped out his valves. This is a community coming together to learn from one another, and you're so much stronger together. And you're going to see people that are just in the beginning, and you're going to see people like my dad that are on the other side of what happened and doing really good, like Aaron, like you were doing. So please don't ever discount that. I was trying to think of the other things that I would love to share here.
Well, it's amazing to hear, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, Lisa. And I really appreciate saying that, because my inspiration is not me. It's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm building. It's my fellow brother and sister stroke survivors from around the world. Because look at Ed. Look at you. You're a stroke survivor, Lisa, in a type, what I call type of stroke survivor. And I have the stroke, no doubt. But there's a ripple effect of stroke that is like throwing a pebble in the water, and it just ripples across. It goes to the others, the wife, the child, whatever. It ripples across in many places. But when you were saying earlier about how important community is, Ed, how do you tell me how do you meet once a week in your support group or what?
It's once a month. And I have to tell you now, it's how many years? It's over 6 years, and even though I do well, I'm doing well, it's still an inspiration to me and an inspiration to the rest of the group. And I have to tell you, because we're virtual, I'm not sure if the nurse that heads it will be happy about this, but we have a stroke survivor in Chicago that comes to our meeting because she couldn't find. Well, she's in a suburb. She's not in, or one of the towns around Chicago, and she couldn't find a group. So if you want to find a group, ask Aaron for my contact information, and I'll talk to my group, but I will tell you, we will welcome you with open arms. And virtual, you can be on the other side of the planet.
Definitely will take you up on that. We'll put that for you, audience, if you're watching this on replay. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. But, the virtual, I belong to a very prominent CSuite network of Jeff Hazelwoods and on LinkedIn. And it's amazing the power within the community. Here you are, cerebellum stroke survivor like me, and you're very fortunate to come on, like Lisa said earlier, to come out the other side. The important thing I don't want anybody to do, and I both have cerebellar strokes. Look at the difference. Every stroke is different.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to other stroke survivors. But one thing common we all have, we must be part of a community like Lisa said. It takes, what's that, Lisa? It takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes a tribe to raise a stroke survivor. We're pretty much there.
Yes, absolutely. Beautifully said. It takes a tribe.
Yeah, it does. Now, I'm curious. Now, that's it. I want to really draw a little bit of focus on this because I've never heard talk about it. And my wife, I thought we were talking last night of air flight and stroke. And she knew all about the pressure changes in the aircraft that can cause the DVT and cause DVT and cause stroke. So I'm curious, how common is this?
Well, I understand that it is not common because usually the DVT will cause a pulmonary embolism. And, if it's sufficient enough, right, that's the end. But what really, really floored me is how many your wife knew that you shouldn't stay still when you get on an airplane. I got on an airplane hundreds and hundreds of times and didn't know it. And what bothers me is, why wouldn't the airline tell you that? I won't get into it, but I can understand maybe why they wouldn't want to advertise that. But my feeling is, boy, everybody, when they're telling you the mask will drop down if if there's no oxygen and there's a seat cushion under your chair in case you're in the water, and they can't say, hey, you know what? Every 15 minutes or every half hour, we're all going to get up and walk in place.
So it's really a combination of sitting still and the cabin pressure changes.
Yep, that's what does it.
So I'm telling you, my C-suite executives, fellow executives, I know you fly a lot. Get up, stretch your legs, move around every hour, Ed? What?
No, it should be, I got to tell you, every half hour.
Every half hour. And we're trying to give you a heads up because we didn't want, Ed and I don't want this to happen to you. And Lisa, you've seen, and I'm going to back up a bit because now you went to rehab with your dad side by side. And I could tell, Ed, family is everything. Your family, your wife, your daughter, your son, Mikey's son, really my support system. I have known my friends. I know for family because I'm not the easiest person to communicate with. But the ones that stay by my side is my immediate family, my son, my daughter. And I'll tell you, community. Community being together is nothing better. It's needed.
Absolutely. And I feel like if I can just say, I've gotten close to some of the people in my dad's group. I mean, we consider them like family. That's what happens. And so although the stroke was terrible, everything, so many things that came from it were not good. But now my dad has the ability to educate other people about this, prevent this from happening, just having the awareness that you should move around when you're on an airplane. And the people that we've met, the people that we've come to love and know as family, I mean, good things came from it too. So.
Well, I get you. If they all saying the glass is half full or half empty. A stroke is about attitude, in my opinion. Attitude and mindset is everything. If the Henry Ford said, what do you think you can and what do you think you can't, both are true. And it's so true, right? If the stroke survivor, you say you can't, you're not give out to, you say you can, you will. You guys are not going to believe this, but I'm going to let this show go a little over because I got a few things I wanted to touch on. I can see two shows because I want you to tell my C-suite executives who fly all the time, we're going to really do a show focused on nothing but the effects of flight and possibility of stroke. And then we're going to do another show because if I remember at least, I don't know what the product is called. What's it called? What is the product you found?
Sure. So because of me going through my own health journey, I was actually introduced to a biotechnology that when I learned about it, my first thought was that it could possibly help my dad because it's something that is in us already. So the body understands it and it can cross the blood-brain barrier. So when you have a problem in the brain, there, it just was intuitive to me that if it can cross the blood-brain barrier, maybe this is something that can help my dad. So it's something that we definitely don't have enough time to talk about it here, but I would be really honored and grateful to have another show to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that for sure because, anything that works. And like I said, I'm going to be participating prior to the show, hopefully. And
Of
once we
course.
get together, yeah. But Ed, I'm curious if boy, half an hour just flew by. I tell you what, we're practically 2 minutes over. But I'm the boss, so I can go as long as I want. But Ed, I'm curious if you were gonna give your advice towards maybe a newer stroke survivor, someone that's gone through stroke. You went through your first stroke at age what, 39 or something?
36.
36.
Yeah.
And then you had your second stroke later. At what age?
64.
And what would you give the advice of a newer stroke survivor? What would you give them? If like I was coming in, I was a newer stroke survivor, what would you tell me?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is everyone that is around you, the healthcare providers, they understand that you are scared to death and that you are so scared it's almost impossible to communicate, to think. And although you might be getting millions of questions asked to you're probably not going to answer, and that's okay. It's okay to let those healthcare professionals get you through that initial hurdle, because and I remember like the back of my hand that it was just so overwhelming that everything else around you just disappears. And if you had that feeling, I know you did. I would think everybody does. That's a normal thing, a normal reaction. And that is not going to be your life. Your life is so turned upside down that it's so overwhelming that you can let yourself get lost in that being overwhelmed. That is probably what leads to depression and negative thoughts. So if you're already past that, you have to realize that that's what is really caused the wrong way of looking at this. You got to say, okay, even if this is what I am for the rest of my life, I have to decide, and as Aaron said, it's a decision, that I am going to get the most that I can get out of my life. And I'm going to say something kind of silly, but I remembered it when I started to try and get through those initial stages. When I was a little kid, I would look up and I would see a bird flying. And I would say, I am so smart. How is it that I'm so much smarter than that bird and I can't fly? I want to fly. And I have to tell you that the desire was so strong. I dreamt when I was 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, I could fly. And I would feel it. And when I had the dream, I have to tell you, it was wonderful to feel that sense of flying. I can't fly. I never could fly. there is now things that you can't do. Just like when I was 4 years old, I can't do it. Could imagine it. Maybe in my imagination, I even do it, and I have some fun out of it. But there are things that you can't do, and you have to accept it. And when you accept the things that you can't do, and you look at the things that you can do, they fill up your life. You do your therapy, you do the things that say, well, I can't do it. Well, maybe I can. Maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll see that little bit of success. And that will get you through life. At least it does for me. It did for me. Now, I know I look normal now. I wish you saw the videos of what I looked like 3 years after the stroke. It was, not much different, but the message that I want to get across is, don't look at me and think everything goes back to normal. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Have the faith. It could happen overnight. Happen overnight for me, right? But accept your situation and work with it. And again, I know I said it's the little successes, and those keep your positive attitude. But as an initial stroke survivor, the world is upside down. You have to understand that there's no other way you would see this, and no other stroke survivor saw it differently. But you see a stroke survivor that's been around for months, years, and wow, they're doing pretty good. That's you, and you will get there.
Yeah, I think probably focusing on those little victories. But let's see, who's the star that says dreams without dreams without goals are just dreams. And it's so true. And I want every stroke survivor out there to realize, set those goals. Now, me and that aunt, I could twitch my left finger, my fifth hand. But it's a twitch. It's better. But now I can ignore it like I have done last 12 years. I can build off it. So I'm just saying, set those goals and keep pushing forward. So Ed, we went by so quick. We're 10 minutes of our show, but I can't wait to have you back on, Lisa. And we're going to delve into a little bit of the technology and how it may help survivors. And thank you so much. I kind of feel led to do a show for my executives, I know, because they all fly. And I want them to know they need to get up and, stretch their legs every hour an hour.
Absolutely. If I save one person from that ordeal,
that's right.
The rest of my life was worth it.
That's so true. That's what I do. If I have one stroke survivor out there, I'm happy. But I want to encourage you, audience, if you're out there, you're enjoying our content, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir TV Mini YouTube. Ed, Lisa, thank you very much for being there. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Honored to be back.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Bye, Ed.
Bye.
Bye, Liz.
Bye for now.
Set me on